Hi everybody, welcome to the 5 reasons you shouldn't back Zombicide White Death. We knew it was coming, and in fact I'm filming this preemptively when it's still at only 900,000 because I know that it's Zombicide and therefore it's going to break $1 million US, which is the bar for this series. If you're not used to this is a series that I do anytime a board game campaign raises over $1 million on a crowdfunding campaign. I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons you shouldn't back it to sort of provide that balanced look, hopefully. This isn't to pick on the little guy. This isn't to make sure all board game companies go under. This is the same disclaimer you've heard hundreds of times if you've tuned into these videos. No, this is to sort of counteract the FOMO, the fear of missing out, that I feel is often associated with these larger campaigns. Or that I certainly feel in these larger campaigns wanting to back them. And I've had the good opportunity to actually play Zombicide White Death. I played a preview copy as well. I'll be in some of the gameplays that I assume they might be publicizing. And I also put out a video about the differences, the sort of 10-ish differences between Black Plague and White Death, because this is the next iteration in that Black Plague, Green Horde, White Death system. A trilogy now it is. That's the premise of this series. The premise of this series is to make sure that you are equally as excited when the game comes to your door and that you don't regret it and that you don't look at the retail version and you think, oh, yeah, I could have saved some money. And yeah, I probably could have been just as happy with that because I'm not as excited now because I'm on to the next shiny thing. I find myself falling prone to that over and over, still having done this for a while now, and so that's what I hope to exist as the voice of reason. But for any of these things, let's talk about what is exciting about the game, because I always like to talk about what's exciting about the game first so that I have some hope of working with companies and publishers down the line. But it's true, I am really happy I put out that video of the 10 differences between Black Plague and White Death because I was able to share a little bit of that excitement already. I have only played Zombicide, Black Plague, and Green Horde. My friend Zach has all the content. We've enjoyed it a significant amount. And this is a different thing, but it's ultimately the same. And that's a good thing. Zombicide is a fun system. I really think it's a great system. You get your 3 actions. It's very simple. Move, move, search. Move, kill, search. Kill, kill, kill. Or kill, kill, kill. Oh no, my dice didn't hit. Now I'm going to, on the enemy's turn, die, die, die. Like that in Sync song. Zombicide sort of represents almost the best that the Ameritrash genre has to offer, really, when you think about it. It's dice chucking goodness. It's just simple fun. You have a lot of minis on the table. You have a lot of different zombies that are coming at you. And if you want to get together with some friends to take on some zombies and check out and chuck some dice at them and see what happens, Zombicide is always going to be a great vehicle to do that. It's so simple, anybody can pick up. That's another thing that I really enjoy about it. The complexity here isn't that significant, and even if you play with some wrong rules minutia, it doesn't matter. The core essence of the game will always remain the same. It'll just sort of scale the difficulty and whatever. I think Zombicide is a fun system. I also think that for a lot of Command games, the time to purchase them is legitimately at Kickstarter. I can see that as a reason to back. I can see that as a thing that drives that FOMO because of all of their stretch goals and all of that exclusive content that they throw in there. It does sometimes make sense to get the Kickstarter versions rather than wait for the retail. And so I recognize that as well. And in terms of that excitement factor, whether or not I'm interested in the game, because it is Command, I'm going to pay attention to a Command Kickstarter because I know that there's some of the best in the business in terms of producing Kickstarter content and giving you a lot of stretch goals that feel like it adds to the experience. Whether it does add to the experience, who knows, but it certainly feels like it. But yeah, so just the fact that it is Zombicide, it's based off of the systems of what is known to be probably one of the best Zombicides out there, Black Plague, and the fact that there have been some noticeable tweaks to the formula makes this one really hard for me to resist. But I think I've talked myself down. I wrote down the 5 reasons and I thought, you know what? If I think about this logically and I don't think about it in terms of the, oh, it looks so cool, give me those big boxes, I think I might have talked myself off the ledge. And that's in half what these videos are for, is to help talk my own self down so I don't spend completely irresponsibly. Especially not justifying it as well, that since I have a YouTube channel, I mean, we're going to want to see an unboxing. We're going to want to see coverage of it, right? That seems like a perfect reason in itself just to get it. No, I think these reasons have cooled me down, and so maybe they will cool you down as well, just like my teachers would stuff us all in the freezer if we were getting too close to each other on the dance floor. Separate freezers. Cool us right down and really think about what we were doing. I was never tossed into the freezer, FYI. I was the one helping the teacher. So with that, let's get into the 5 reasons that you shouldn't back Zombicide White Death. You can talk yourself into it all night long, but at the end, you're gonna be in the freezer. And reason number 1, it's thematic. It's thematic because of the cold. Didn't even think about that. Reason number 5 rather, is if you're not getting in on a group pledge. And so CMON doesn't have an option for group pledges, but they do have an option for you to pay a bunch of shipping, a ridiculous cost of shipping. This is why I have this up here so we can go to this shipping table. The cheapest shipping, and we learned our lesson from Marvel Zombies, and optional buys are not included and will probably increase the price. And you know you're probably going to get an optional buy because they're going to sell it to you in a way that makes you want to get an optional buy. The cheapest cost would be $33 or $27 to the EU hub. Great job, actually. Good job, CMON. For me in Canada, it's $48 to $62. If you're in Alaska, there is certainly no free shipping here. And however, you know there is interest here. 9,320 backers so far in the first day or so. Yeah, I'm filming this at 4 o'clock. The day after it launched. This has been 25 hours in. There's 9,000 backers. It's made over $1 million Canadian. It will make over $1 million US, or this video won't see the light of day. But the fact that there is so much interest means that chances are you can get in on a group buy. And listen, I talk about shipping a lot. Of course, I have to bring it up here. Especially you have to be mindful of shipping because of CMON's past instances with shipping where they dumped a bunch of unexpected fees upon you for Marvel Zombies. No, sorry, CMON, you're not going to live that down because people will remember. And so that's why I'm such a huge proponent of making sure you're actively excited, because if you get hit with an unexpected bill, it'll suck, but that shouldn't lessen your enthusiasm for the game. However, with a lot of CMON's products, the desire for purchasing is such there that there's going to be more people who want it other than just you. That's true. So if you are guaranteed, and after this video you decide, listen, Zombicide White Death, it's for me, find a group buy. I ended up backing Cthulhu Death May Die. I did a 5 reasons you shouldn't back. I did a giveaway on it that's sponsored by a lovely patron of mine, and I still decided to pull the trigger because I don't have Cthulhu Death May Die, and I thought, you know what? For the same price of getting Season 1 and a little bit, I could get Season 3 and the extra stretch goals of content. That seemed reasonable to me, but I only pulled the trigger because I was able to find myself a reasonable group buy, where it cut down the shipping, which would have been something like $50 to $60 US. For me as a Canadian, that's like $80. That's like a whole new game. That's a Planet Unknown in itself. And that's an expensive game, but worth it. It cut it down to like $17 shipping because we all went in together, and it scales. And so if you live close to a large city or a hub where people might board game, or you have a bunch of friends who inexplicably all want to get a copy even though you're just going to play each other's copy, that's reason 5.5, find that group buy pledge. Take the steps needed to create a group buy. Go on Board Game Geek, find that interest, and find that group buy pledge. And if you're not planning on doing a group buy, then you really have to evaluate if the stretch goals will provide that additional value or not. Because that's essentially what you're paying. It's $110 US. Then, sure, that's probably what the MSRP might be. Honestly, you'll probably be able to get it a little bit cheaper down the line. So what you're paying for with that additional cost, you're paying for all the stretch goals. And if that's not worth it to you, and the shipping is astronomically high, just wait, get it at retail, or get it some other person's copy when they're done with it. Reason number 4 is going to be stretch goal evaluation. It's not on my list, but I'm gonna combine 2 of them into our next point. I think this is an important one, and well, we'll make it 4.5. We'll make it 4.5, and then I'll leave the other ones. I actually think the stretch goals are looking decent here, but the point here will be not to get fooled by the stretch goals. Many of the stretch goals, the fact that these updates, the first two were updates on Abomination packs, I think these are actually going to be your best value stretch goals that you're going to see the entire campaign. I really do. But most of the stretch goals are going to be a survivor figure and an ID card. That's it. You're going to get a couple Abominations, but mostly it'll be these survivor figures and ID cards. And from playing the game and seeing the box as it arrives and seeing that the majority of the stretch goal content will be these sort of extra survivors, it feels like a lot of value. It does, even just scrolling through this, all these stretch goals and these survivors, you're thinking, wow, all this variability. But at the end of the day, you're not really getting that much additional gameplay variability in terms of content, and these are things that you can easily proxy after the fact. I think the Abominations are legit. I think the Abominations are your value add here in the stretch goals. The survivors are really just bloat, because all that happens, you get an additional mini, which you then have to sort with a bunch of other minis, and then you get somebody's survivor ID card, which gives them probably a unique skill you can then use. The rulebook has all of these skills in the back of it already. If you want that variability later on down the line and you have the retail version, you can just pick one to replace one for one. Or you can proxy these, you can find pictures of these cards and say, oh, these are the combo of heroes. Great. That's how these abilities work together. It's not that difficult to proxy and to implement, and it doesn't have that large of an impact upon the gameplay. The Abominations, I feel, do. The Abominations give an additional monster that's roaming around with their own scary variability, and when they come up over and over again, I think that's completely legitimate, and they're scary, and it's fun to be able to mix all of those in there. And so that's why these 16 cards and these 28 promo cards, whatever, updated to work with the White Death system. That's why I think this is the best value add guaranteed, because you don't even need the figures of the previous thing. I've done this for my copy of Massive Darkness 2, came with all the promos to update the heroes from Massive Darkness 1, and I said, great, I'm just going to mash them all in a deck, and when I come up, I'm just going to use a proxy mini. I have enough minis, you don't need to really worry about it. But if you're thinking, oh yeah, I need to get it for all of the stretch goals, I would be mindful about how impactful the additional survivors are. Sure, they're cool, and maybe that cool factor is impactful enough for you, but the survivors don't have that much implications upon the actual gameplay itself, and that's going to be the majority of the stretch goals that are coming out. Guaranteed. It's been that way for every Zombicide ever, and it will be that way for this again. So that's reason number 4. It is reason number 4. It's not a 4.5. That felt legitimate enough to justify its own reason. Reason number 3 is now a combo, a Wombat combo. And reason number 3 is a combo of this Zombicide is likely more difficult than other Zombicides. So if you like an easier game, maybe this one isn't for you. Check out other iterations. That's going to be a plus for a lot of people, though. But the main reason of this point, why I wanted to combine these two, is the game can be over before you begin. And so if you're new to Zombicide, let me see if I can get a picture of the scenario. Here's a picture of the scenario up here that we can talk about as our visual aid. If you're new to Zombicide, you've never played it before, know that sometimes you just go in and you are destined to lose. And what I mean by that, especially with this new mist system, and you'll see this in, some of the playthroughs that I'm in on Quackalope's channel, you'll see this fog that spreads forward. So if a Necromancer, there's like 7 or 8 Necromancer cards in the spawn deck, and if you just happen to have a bad shuffle, just depending upon the scenario, there's sometimes where you cannot win. It doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how good you are at the game, it doesn't matter how quickly you rush forward, you just can't win. And so the fact that Zombicide can provide that experience will frustrate some people. So in this case, the Necromancer spawns, and in other Zombicides, when the Necromancer spawns, it starts walking towards another portal. So it'll spawn at one portal, and it'll go, okay, I've made another portal where more dead are coming out, and it's walking towards the other portal, and you need to kill it before it gets to the other portal, or else that spawn point that was temporary now becomes permanent, and you have to deal with a bunch more zombies spawning every turn. A whole whole new spawn point. It's very significant, and necromancers are scary, and that's why you want to take them out. In this instance, the Defiler Necromancer, and it's baked in that this is so important to the actual scenario. I think you can't have the scenarios without playing the Defiler Necromancer. When it activates, it actually pushes this green fog forward towards the Beacon of Hope. And if green fog touches the Beacon of Hope, game's over, heroes lose. The thing about this is depending on where it spawns, the Necromancer spawns, and how many Necromancer cards come up, it is such an effort because you only get 3 actions a turn. So say this Necromancer spawns on this first turn. Let's just map it out. Let's just math it out as it is. Spawns at this first turn right here. The Beacon of Hope is down there. I hope you can all see this. And you start here. You move 1, 2, 3, charging towards the wall to get over to the other side of the wall. And the Necromancer goes, boom, it puts a spiky thing there. Zombies explode and keep going out. You move 1, 2, 3, trying to get over to the wall. Boom, it's already on the second part of the wall. You move here, 1, and then fire an arrow for 2. You also have to have an arrow with a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, which you're going to have spent time searching for. You also, if you want to start making your way down there, you will have to pick up one of these rope bridges that are on the side there and drop it down. So let's say that takes you another turn to drop the rope bridge down. Boom, there's a spawn here. Things are spawning right in front of you. As you hop down, you have to cut your way through them. And this is also keeping in mind that one of the core components of Zombicide is that you have to search to get better stuff, and that your initial weapons that you get are probably bad and can't deal with basically 4 double spawn points of zombies. Well, 4, single spawn points, right? And so if you get a bad draw like that, the game can just be over before it starts. Or in this instance, there's an abomination that requires 3 points of damage to take out, and there are 0 3 point of damage weapons that exist in the game. That's by design, and because you have to dump hot flaming oil on them and kind of balance it out. But I feel like and keep in mind, this is just from like my own sort of prototype examples, but I feel like Zombicide is a game where if you get a bad shuffle of the deck, it's almost impossible to win. You can do that in a lot of like sort of tower defense games, a lot of deck builders where that can happen. You just get a really rough go. You need to be able to enjoy the struggle and enjoy the time spent trying to achieve your goals rather than being frustrated at the fact where that the game was against you from the start. Right? That's my main point here. If those things easily frustrate you and you haven't been into Zombicide, you shouldn't get into it because it's going to happen and it will eventually frustrate you. It may not happen all the time, but it might happen. And so I think that's worth noticing that this felt a lot harder than Black Plague, and also because of how the deck can come out, you can have no chance to actually gear up for the fight that you need. It's a random game, right? Even the items that you're searching for the deck with are going to be randomly good or bad. You're going to say, and that's part of the allure of Zombicide, but it's also part of something that you should be considerate of before backing. So that's number 3. Number 2, and this is mainly just for me, this is what is helping me calm myself down, is if you own and enjoy playing Massive Darkness 2 more, or Cthulhu Death May Die, let's say, because that's another sort of dice chucker co-op that's out there. That's from Come On. They do a lot of these sorts of games, and for me, I only own Zombicide Prison Outbreak Season 2, and honestly, I haven't even really played it that much, but I just played another game of Massive Darkness 2, and for me, I really like playing that game, and I think if I want to play this style of game, I will gravitate towards that thing. And so you can substitute Massive Darkness 2 here for any other game that kind of fits in this niche. Any other sort of co-op dice chucker like Cthulhu Death May Die or something else, which I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments. Because those things exist, is the allure of White Death going to be enough to get it off your shelf in substitution of those things? And would you rather be spending your time and using that limited time playing Massive Darkness 2 or that other thing? For me, I think I absolutely would. I played Massive Darkness 2 again, and I was like, oh man, I forgot so many rules because it's been so long since I played it. And I again had such a blast, and I was like, yeah, I really need to play this more. And I think because it's so memorable and so much fun, I want to get it back to the table, or those plays stick around in my memory for longer than I expect them to, or or they have any right to, depending upon the last time I played. I mean, I still played a bunch. I played it a bunch when it came out, and then I hadn't played it for a while, so I played it again recently. That, to me, scratched the itch, right? It scratched the itch. It calmed me down a little bit. So honestly, this point could be, have you played your co-op dice chuckers recently? And go play one right now, or make a point to play one in your next game session or while this campaign is ongoing. And think about, if you then had this on your shelf and the co-op deck, the co-op dice chucker, or whatever you're playing, what would get more plays and what you'd be happier with getting more plays. I think that helps take the shiny off of it a little bit and might help. So that's number 2. And honestly, it's kind of similar to number 1, but I feel like they're distinctly different, because I also believe that there is a place for having Zombicide and Massive Darkness 2 on your shelf. Myself and my friend Zach, we did a whole long discussion about the merits of both Zombicide and Massive Darkness 2, and if they were too similar, or if they both could exist on a shelf. And I think they can exist on a shelf. I think they are distinctly different and fill different niches. For me personally, I would want to spend my time doing Massive Darkness 2, but I know the argument can be made that you can have both. And I agree with that argument. And so number 1 is distinct in the fact that you already have Zombicide. This isn't you already have too much Zombicide. This is you already own Zombicide. While every Zombicide, I'm going to come big now, so you know I'm serious. While every Zombicide feels different and distinct, and there are differences here. Again, there are over 10 differences on the rule book, which is great. Actually, I lied to you. I'm gonna go back here to show you this awesome. It is a great rule book, because they have this big page on page 8 of all the different changes. All the different changes right here that are from Black Death versus White Plague. That's it. I got it right. So there's a bunch that I did a whole video about it, and I forgot some that they mentioned in here, like Abominations and Necromancers dropping vault weapons, which is fun. Changes to how Dragon Bile is used in order to deal with the Abominations a little bit better. There are no doors to open, so there's no zombies going to spawn on the inside of the wall. They're just coming from the outside of the wall to give a feeling of you actually being prepared to face them. All these little changes, and there are changes, and I would say, I think the changes between other editions are even more significant. It's still at its core Zombicide. Like, you own it. You own it already. If you do. If you don't, then this point isn't for you. But likely, you probably own Zombicide already. And if you do, why do you need another edition? I think this was probably my number 1 point when Marvel Zombies was covered in the 5 reasons, and it should always be the number 1 point as a reminder that you own Zombicide. I own Zombicide. I own Zombicide Season 2 Prison Outbreak. Sure, I just have the retail edition, but it's still got all the zombies. I still got enough survivors in there. Have I ever played it? No, because I'd rather play Black Plague and Green Horde down at Zach's. And the fact that that situation exists for me personally, I know that I can't really justify spending the $110 US plus $50 shipping if I'm not in a group buy, which makes it $160 US for me in Canada, which makes it, $200 and something Canadian. The costs add up. It's not just a $110 price tag. Or if it is, then you can just get it at retail. And so with that thinking, how many Zombicides could a zombicide if a zombie could zombicide? That's the real question we have to ask ourselves here and answer. And write in the comments below. But yeah, that's my number 1 point. I don't need to belabor it, really. You have Zombicide already. How many copies of the same game do you actually need? The minor tweaks are different, but they're nowhere near as distinct as something like a different game, like Massive Darkness 2 or, come on, Cthulhu Death May Die. Come on, Cthulhu, Death May Die. That's the official title. So I'll leave you with that as the number 1 point. Look at your shelf, and if you see even one copy of Zombicide, are you replacing it? And hey, if you don't have Zombicide, honestly, this might be a good point to jump in. Somebody asked me in the comments of the other video, and I said, yeah, I think White Death draws a lot of inspiration from Black Plague, and Black Plague is kind of known as the best system of Zombicide, is the best version of Zombicide, at least it has been for the last little while. And so because of that, because it feels similar and draws upon those systems, and if you don't own Zombicide, this might be a great place to jump in. It really might. If you can get the shipping under control, and if you feel like the stretch goals add enough value to pay for whatever shipping you're paying for, Yeah, I think Zombicide's a fun game. It's a fun system, and it's one that I'll happily play anytime. Same would be for White Death. Same would be for Black Plague. But for me, I don't need it in my life, and I'm happy it exists for people who are excited about it, and I'm excited about it too. Let's be real. But I think I've managed to talk myself out of it this time for now. I'll still be looking at the campaign and drooling over it, but I think I have enough things that are similar and too similar to warrant me investing a significant amount of money, whereas I could put that money into different experiences. So there you go. Those are my 5 reasons you shouldn't back. Let me know in the comments if you are backing, if you're not, if you're excited, why not. I always find it's great help for a lot of people, me myself included, to convince me to the right side of things and to just purchase it. And also for other people who are interested and are contemplating it, it's great to hear people's opinions and the pros and cons. I think you just help everybody else out there that way. And also then you can be, vindicated in your choice because everybody will be convinced by your incredibly intelligent words. But that's it. That's it for me. If you do want a good value, this isn't a sponsored post, but I'm going to do an ad for them in another video, but I didn't feel like I wanted to do an ad on this video because I'm telling you not to spend money, and it would be hypocritical for me to tell you to spend money. But I was legitimately going to just buy these shirts from this company Into the AM because I really like their stuff, and I've done a couple ads on the channel before, and then I had the great idea of just contacting them and saying, hey, send me them for free and I'll talk about them on the channel, because I can legitimately talk about the quality, and I'm wearing one right now and I'm just so happy with the color. So if you want a good quality t-shirt and you're in the market, this feels forced and foreign, but I just have 10% off for you, that's all. So I would just want to make sure you would get more off. You can use the code SlipperyJim. That's real. If you wanted that on Into the AM. But, if you watch my channel, I'll talk about it in more detail, probably in Monday's crowdfunding countdown. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. My name's Chris George, and you know what? I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have a 10% off anything on this. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I'm going to go play Massive Darkness today. I played it yesterday and it was really fun, and I want to play it again, and I don't have too much on the review docket right now because I've managed to work my way through most of it, and so maybe I can get a game in for fun again. So yeah, I'll see you later. Hope you're having a wonderful day. That's it.